Hello, educators, and welcome. If you're here, I'm guessing you know the feeling all too well. The calendar is overflowing, the to-do list is a mile long, and there's just this constant buzz of activity. You know, in our line of work, being busy can feel like a badge of honor. But what if all that frantic motion isn't actually moving the needle? Today, we are going to dive into how you can get beyond just being busy and start focusing on what really counts: genuine, measurable growth for you and for your students.
All right, let's kick things off with a pretty powerful metaphor. I want you to picture a world-class mountain climber, someone like Kilian Jornet. When he's scaling a monster like Everest, he knows his destination. It's the summit. But the exact path he takes to get there, he's flexible, he adapts, he has a mission. Now contrast that with pedestrians in a big city. They're walking with so much confidence, right? Purposeful strides, looking like they know exactly where they're going, but a lot of them are just wandering. They're in motion, but they don't have a destination. And that is the perfect picture of the trap we're talking about. So you have to ask yourself, are you the focused climber, or are you the confident but aimless walker?
And that question leads us right here to the absolute core of our conversation today: the huge difference between activity and achievement. You know, in education, it is so easy to mix these two up. A packed calendar and a constant stream of emails, man, it feels productive. But often, that's just activity. That's the motion of the city pedestrian. Achievement, that's the climber reaching a new height. It's about real, tangible progress, not just looking like you're making progress. There's actually a name for this whole thing. It's called productivity theater. It's basically the performance of being busy. Think about it for a second. Those endless staff meetings where you talk in circles and nothing really gets decided. The super detailed progress reports that take hours to fill out but don't actually change how you teach. Or even just constantly refreshing your email to look like you're on top of things. It's all a show. And a lot of the time, the audience is just us. We're performing the part of a hard worker, but are we actually producing results?
Now this is where it gets really interesting, because it breaks down the very DNA of being busy versus being productive. A busy person, they've got a ton of priorities, right? They're juggling 20 different things. But a productive person, they have maybe 2 or 3, and they are crystal clear on what they are. A busy person is just focused on action, doing stuff. The productive person is focused on clarity before they act. They're asking, wait, why are we doing this? The busy person's day is run by their inbox. They're totally reactive. The productive person is intentional. Their mission runs their day. And maybe the biggest one of all, the busy person says yes to everything fast. The productive person, they say yes very slowly.
So, with all that in mind, let's do a little self-check, a quick diagnostic. Because honestly, the very first step to getting out of this busy trap is just admitting that you're in it. So I want you to be really honest with yourself as we go through these next few points. This is not about feeling bad, it's just about building awareness. Just take a second. Think about your last week, or maybe the week you have coming up. Let's see if some of these common symptoms of the busy trap, let's see if they hit home.
Does this look familiar? I mean, your calendar is just a wall of color-coded blocks. Back-to-back meetings, calls, duties. You run from one thing to the next. You crash at the end of the day completely exhausted. But that big project, that new curriculum you were excited about, or that student intervention program you wanted to launch, it's still sitting on page 1. Your time is being spent, but it's not being invested.
And check this number out. This really puts things in perspective. A whopping 71% of professionals admit that most of the meetings they go to are totally unproductive. Just think about that for a second. If you spend even a quarter of your week in meetings, and most of them are a waste of time, you're not just losing a few hours. You're losing the critical energy you need for the deep, focused work that actually helps kids learn.
Okay, here's another big tell. Do you find yourself saying this all the time? I'm so busy. I just have no time. It's kind of our cultural mantra, right? But here's the thing. Truly productive people, they don't really use time as an excuse. They make time for what's important. They get that saying, I don't have time is often just another way of saying, it's not a priority for me right now.
I absolutely love this quote from Stephen King, because it's just so brutally simple. You can talk all day about being a writer, but if you don't produce words, you're not a writer. So let's just reframe this for us. An educator is a producer of student growth. Produce student growth, and you're an effective educator. The point is, our value isn't measured by how many hours we put in or how exhausted we feel. It's measured by our results, by the actual growth we see in our students.
Now, we've got to be clear about this. This isn't just about being a little inefficient.
Getting stuck in productivity theater has real, serious, negative consequences. It's way more than just spinning your wheels. It's actively harming your career and your school's potential.
These right here, these are the real costs. Professional stagnation, that's when your teaching methods start to feel a little stale. Loss of purpose, that's when the why, the reason you became an educator in the first place, gets buried under piles of paperwork. Burnout, well, that's not just feeling tired, it's a full-blown crisis in our field. And as we get more exhausted, the quality of our work starts to slip. Lesson plans get reused, and feedback to students gets a little more generic. And in the end, we miss out on all the cool opportunities for growth and connection that make this job so incredible.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the problem. Let's start talking about the solution. The way out of this trap is to make a really fundamental shift in how you think. You need to move from labor to leverage. Labor is just trading your time for output. 1 hour in, 1 hour of results out. It's linear. Leverage, on the other hand, is when you invest 1 hour to build a system that creates 10 or even 100 hours of value down the road. It's about multiplication, not just addition.
So how do we actually do this? Well, it boils down to these 3 steps. First, define your outcome. Stop thinking about your to-do list and start thinking about results. What is the one metric that really matters? Maybe it's increase reading comprehension scores in my 3rd graders by 10%. Great. Step 2, apply leverage. Ask yourself this magic question. What is the one thing I could do that would make everything else on my list easier or even irrelevant? Maybe it's creating a set of amazing reusable video lessons for tricky concepts. And third, and this is crucial, you have to schedule deep work. You have to literally block out time on your calendar to build these leveraged assets and protect that time like a hawk. This is not if I get to it time, this is sacred time.
And all of this leads to the ultimate goal. See, the end game here isn't just to have a neater calendar. It's to build systems, these repeatable processes that create great outcomes almost on autopilot. That is how you get off the hamster wheel for good. This right here is such a huge mindset shift. So many of us are trained to want to be indispensable, to be the one hero teacher who knows how everything works. But that's a trap. If you're indispensable, you can't ever take a break, and your impact is capped by your own 2 hands. The real goal is to be scalable, is to create a lesson plan template so effective that any new teacher can use it to succeed. It's to build a workflow for parent communication that's so clear anyone can follow it. Your goal is to build systems that lift up the entire school.
So let's make this super practical right now. I want you to just pause and think for a moment. What's one small, repeatable process you could build this week? Could it be a simple template for your weekly newsletter to parents? A checklist for setting up a science lab? A shared folder with all the best resources for a specific unit? Start small. The goal here is just to start building that muscle of systems thinking.
Look, this journey from being constantly busy to being genuinely effective, it's one of the most important professional journeys you can take. It's really about taking back your time, your energy, and your sense of purpose. So if this was valuable for you, please hit that subscribe button and maybe share it with another teacher or principal who you know needs to hear this. And you know what? Let's hold each other to it. In the comments below, tell us, what is the very first system you're going to build? Let's stop being just busy and let's start growing together.